Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order this Pierce County Council meeting and Tuesday study session. It is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. The time is 12:03 p.m. All members are present except for Councilmember Morell and Councilmember Hitchin. Both are excused. We're at item number 2, review of today's council meeting agenda. Ms. Long, to brief.
Thank you and good afternoon. This is today's regular council meeting agenda. It is amended. We'll start with your consent agenda. Under introduction and scheduling, you have 2 ordinances. The first is O 2024-542. This is ratifying a collective bargaining agreement reached with the Teamsters Local Union 117 General Unit and Pierce County Sheriff Unit. This has a final council hearing date of August 13th. The other is O 2024-543, and this is amending the biennial budget. This is the supplemental. This is for referral to committee of the whole, and you'll be setting the final on this for August 27th. So moving down to final action on your consent, we have a few resolutions here. The first is R 2024-180, and this is confirming the appointment of a new member to the Accessible Communities Advisory Committee. The next is R 2024-181, and this is confirming the reappointment of one existing member to the Gig Harbor Peninsula Land Use Advisory Commission. Next up is R 2024-182. This is confirming the appointment of one new member to the Pierce County Noxious Weed Control Board. And finally, you have R 2024-183. This is confirming the appointment of 2 new members to the Pierce County Conservation Futures and Open Space Citizens Advisory Board. You have 2 proclamations this afternoon. The first is proclaiming July 26th as Americans with Disabilities Act Day in Pierce County, and this is requested by Councilmember Denson. And the other, as you can see, has been added, and this is a proclamation of the council and executive honoring Denise Johnson, clerk to the Pierce County Council, for 36 years of service to the council, Pierce County government, and the community members of Pierce County. And that was requested by Chair Mello. There are no resolutions on this afternoon's council meeting, but you do have 2 ordinances under section 9. The first of those is O 2024-528. This is amending chapter 17C60 of the code. This is the International Fire Code. There are 2 amendments to this that we'll discuss shortly. And this received a due pass at CDEC on June 17th. The other is O 2024-536. This is ratifying a collective bargaining agreement reached with the Professional and Technical Employees Local 17 Engineering Unit. And this is for final today. And those are your agenda items for this afternoon's regular meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Are there any questions before we get to the amendments on the fire code ordinance? I don't see any. Let's move to the 2 amendments on ordinance 528, which updates the International Fire Code, or our application of the International Fire Code with our code. Mr. Kruger.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, council members. There are 2 amendments this afternoon for proposal O 2024-528. The first amendment is technical. It would provide an effective date to the ordinance of September 1st and insert the dates of the CDEC meeting as well as today's council meeting. So that's amendment number 1. Amendment number 2 concerns fireworks, and Tom Swanson, who is the kind of resident expert on all things fireworks, is here in chambers if you have any additional questions. But I will just kind of quickly describe what the amendment would do. What it would do is it would change the current process for receiving permits for fireworks sales. Right now, there is a time period in March, between March 15th and May 10th, where folks can apply once a year for all fireworks sales, and that includes fireworks sales around the 4th of July, as well as fireworks sales that occur around New Year's. So one time period. What this amendment would do is it would create an additional time period for fireworks sales in the fall that would be an October window of time where an applicant could apply for fireworks sales that would only be available for sales around New Year's. So it's a second period of time. This amendment was sponsored by Councilwoman Krueger. We have provided a copy to the Fire Marshal, Ken Rice, who will be with you this afternoon for the council meeting. Not sure if the Fire Marshal has an opinion regarding this amendment at this time, but I do expect him here to answer your questions. And I'm happy to take any questions about the amendment, or Mr. Swanson, as I noted, is here as well.
Thank you. Questions or comments about either of these two amendments on the fire code? We'll begin with Vice Chair Campbell.
Thank you. And I don't have the code up in front of me. You use the term New Year's. Is it in the code as New Year's, or is it date specific?
The time window, it's a time window for selling fireworks kind of leading up to New Year's Eve.
Right.
And then there's a window of time where those fireworks can be discharged, and it's like January 31st, or I'm sorry, December 31st from, dark until 1 a.m. on the first of the year. So it's, a 6 or ish hour window for discharge.
Just want to be sure that we were using dates. The term New Year's, while very common to us, there's also the Chinese New Year, and we
Right.
see a lot of fireworks during those too. So I don't know if the intent of the maker was to open up other recognized New Years that we have that also use fireworks to celebrate their New Year, or is intent only on the traditional Gregorian calendar.
The amendment only concerns the ability to apply for a permit to sell fireworks. It does not change the times in which fireworks can be sold or in which they could be discharged.
Okay, as soon as I get my computer dialed into where it needs to be, I'll give it a closer look, but on the surface, I know I've received dozens of emails again this year about the effects that fireworks have on people's farm animals and pets and veterans and just various people who it creates lots of problems for. And I think we need to be cautious at any point where we are expanding fireworks discharge in our county, because I know I hear very stringently from residents who don't want to see us go in that direction. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Campbell. Councilmember Herrera.
Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Herrera. Councilmember Herrera. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So currently, right now, we can't, in the county, they can't sell fireworks for New Year's.
They can.
They can.
Yes.
So this is just expanding, like, let's say somebody in March applies for it, and that's the only group of people that can either do it during the 4th of July and then maybe at the 1st if they want to.
Right,
So
your permit's good for the whole year. So if you apply in March and receive a permit to sell fireworks, you're good to go for sales that occur either in, kind of like the July time period around the 4th or later on in the winter. That permit's good for both of those time windows to sell fireworks.
So this is just opening it up for, let's say, a nonprofit didn't have their stuff together in March, or an opportunity came up for them to possibly do it for another window to just do it for the New Year's time. Is that
That's
all
right.
this is?
That's right.
So we're not really expanding what we're already doing, just other than people applying a different time to apply.
It's another, yeah, exactly. You're saying it correctly. It's another window of time in which an applicant could submit to the county permission to sell fireworks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'm just going in the order that I see the lights. Councilmember Denson, did you have anything?
Well,
I
I
saw your
just
light
can't
up.
find the amendment in my packet. Is it not in here, or what page is it on?
It was recently
Page 7, I'm
added,
hearing.
so-
Should be updated on the website.
Oh, you know what? I might be looking in the, okay, I'm not looking in the study session packet. I was looking in today's. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I wanted. Thank you.
Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair. This is very specific in reaction to the market, and that there are many factors that are involved in getting a stand going, and many risks at hand by choosing to do this before the current window date. So as Councilmember Herrera was saying, it's just giving another opportunity for those who have leases, they have to get insurance, they have to order product. And it's a legal event. And I don't dismiss any of the reactions that Councilmember Campbell had. I had those as well. However, this is a legitimate business and it is not doing anything differently. It is being more proactive in concern for the business and their profitability, their ability to put the things together. All of the things up front that they have to secure, and if the land is sold where they were going to have their tent, they are out the money. And I know there are other ramifications with this. However, this is about fairness to our constituents who are in the business of generating the revenue. And this is also great for nonprofits. And it's just giving the window of opportunity closer to the date of the event. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair Campbell.
Thank you. One more follow-up. I don't know that everyone here was here when we got overwhelmed with fireworks things a few years ago and drastically cut back the hours of discharge for fireworks. I remember at that time, though, even though we put it into effect, I think it was late July or August, it had to wait a whole nother calendar year before it could go into effect. And so I'm wondering if that same thing applies here, that even if authorized today, this wouldn't be for this October, it'd be for October 2025, because we've always had to have a 1-year waiting period on any actions regarding
Let Tom
fireworks.
Address that question.
Thank you. Tom Swanson, council staff. The 1 year has always applied to the discharge dates of the fireworks. We haven't, this section of code hasn't been touched in a long time. We've never actually looked to see if that applies to issuing the permits to change the sale dates. But in the past, that was applied to any changes that we do, and that's under the state statute. It applies to any changes that occur within the allowable use of fireworks, has that calendar year provision. We would have to go back and read it through kind of this lens to verify whether that is the case, and we can do that before 3 o'clock today.
Okay. Just want to make sure that we're transparent on that so people don't think we're offering something this fall that really we're not offering till the following fall because of state law that I think myself and Mr. Morrell remember processing through.
Thank you. Councilmember Tenson.
Yes, I just want to confirm, it's the fire marshal the permits are made to and that has to process these permits and make those approvals. So instead of just doing it once a year, if this passes, he would have to do it a second time a year.
That's
Go
correct.
through all of that. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cruver.
Thank you, Chair. My understanding is if there is a right, so to speak, taken away, then you wait for the following year. Because if someone had done their planning and has purchased fireworks and then to be told you can't do that, then it is a year in that. This is just adding a window of opportunity so you're not detracting from the businesses. And the permitting is an online permit. It is by state law, a $100 fee to do that. And there are other ramifications, which I'm sure that the fire marshal will bring to us this afternoon, which I look forward to that discussion. But in the meantime, it's just maybe somebody only wants to apply for New Year's and then they can apply in a different window and alleviate the time span. It's hard to know that in January or February what you want to do the following December. And so this is a constituent related code addition.
Thank you, Councilmember Cruver. Any other questions or comments about these amendments? Okay, and as Mr. Kruger said, the fire marshal will be here this afternoon, not only for this item about fireworks, but the other issues related to the fire code that are in the bill. There's a lot more to the bill than this item. Thank you, Mr. Kruger. There are no other amendments for the meeting today, right, Ms. Long?
Correct.
And there's no grant reports for council's discussion today. So we're at item number 3, review of committee agendas for the week. Ms. Long.
Thank you. So a reminder that following today's study session, there is a closed session that will be via Teams. So we'll go back to offices for that. That's not the executive session. And then at 3 PM is the council meeting today. Tomorrow's performance audit committee at 10 has been canceled, as has the select committee on homelessness at 1:30. So those are both canceled, and this afternoon is the last meeting, regular council meeting and or standing committee for this week.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Questions about committee agendas for the week? Not seeing any. We are at item number 4, external boards and commission updates. Mr. Taylor, to begin the conversation.
Yes, thank you, Hugh Taylor, council staff. One item to report on, and that is the Puget Sound Regional Council's Executive Board. The Executive Board meets this Thursday, July 25th for their regular meeting. It's an important meeting for Pierce County and other jurisdictions that are members of the Puget Sound Regional Council. This action item on the agenda that day is the approval of projects to be funded for fiscal years 27 and 28 from Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration dollars. I've previously briefed the council at the countywide and a regional level recommendations on that process. The executive board will be taking final action to actually approve awards of funds. As a reminder, Pierce County government has 6 projects that are recommended for funding. Those 6 projects total approximately $12 million. I have previously gone through those projects with you. I'm happy to run through them again today, but it's an important vote for the executive board and for our county relative to that funding package. That's all that I have to report on for the executive board, and be happy to answer any questions for you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Are there questions for Mr. Taylor about Puget Sound Regional Council business? Not seeing any. Thank you. Do other members have any updates on boards and commissions they represent Pierce County on? Not seeing any. That brings us to item number 5, discussion of administrative items. Ms. Murray, good morning.
Good morning, Julie Murray, Chief of Staff, and your clerk today for the study session. As we kind of mentioned today, we'll be having our clerk of the council being recognized at today's council meeting. And we also have next week and we announced that for the whole county, having a going away party for her also on Tuesday from 1:30 to 3:30 here in the chambers. And then I wanted to just give you a brief update on the plans that we're kind of talking about for the future. If you'll remember, the clerk of the council was one of the positions that was reviewed in the class and compensation study that the council directed to happen last year. And in that process, it was decided not to update the clerk of the council to reflect the anticipated organizational structure that you had also adopted back in July. And that would make the clerk of the council be the supervisor of the clerk's team. Currently, I am, as chief of staff, the supervisor of that team. And so we will need to do a review of the job classification to reflect the duties that you want for the future. We'll also need to then reflect upon the salary that is currently for that position, because it doesn't reflect supervisory duties. And in the comp and classification study with the county's HR, it's generally assumed supervisory functions increase salary from a range of about 10 to 15%. So I am talking with them Thursday to sort of start that process to review the job description. That would be something brought to the Rules and Operations Committee, because they have in your administrative guidelines the authority on the job classification and salary structure of the council. But eventually that would need to be something then adopted by the full council. So knowing we need to do that, and that the general timeline for hiring, and I'll say, since I've been here, we are about the county average now. It takes about 4 months from the very beginning to the very end, recognizing the work we'll have to do on the classification. I'm looking at that being a 4 to 6 month sort of period where we will need to do something on a temporary basis. And the plan is to have Audrey serve as acting clerk of the council, because that allows Patty to continue to do the work that she's doing uninterrupted. And then Brenna, who is, works on committee work, would then assume sort of the kind of committee clerking role for all the committees. We will need to have somebody, I believe, here, another person temporarily, because it's too much to ask 3 clerks to do. And you just remember, prior to me coming here, you used to have 5 clerks. Now you have 4, we would have 3. So I'm also looking at options for someone, either hiring someone temporarily through Express or as a limited duration employee, so that we kind of have that period, that 4 to 6 month period filled with someone who I would assume would do sort of what the assistant clerk function is, which is study sessions, the expanded schedule, and then providing general support to the clerks and sitting out at the reception desk. So there's going to be a lot of work in the next couple of weeks, just sort of trying to put that together. But it will not be, we will not have a replacement, I would say, quickly on a permanent basis, but we will have Audrey serving as clerk at the council on an acting basis until we have that filled. So that's really all I have to report, and I'm happy to answer anybody's questions about all the moves we need to accomplish.
Thank you, Ms. Murray, for managing the support of our critical staff team and explaining what the thinking is for at least the next 6 months or so while we work to implement the replacement of the irreplaceable Denise Johnson and have a permanent clerk to the council and continue to implement our staff reorganization. Any questions for Ms. Murray about anything that she shared? Thank you. Under Chair's topics, I have 2 items. The first is we'll be having a special meeting of the council on Wednesday, August 7th at noon. Remind members on your calendars already is a committee of the whole in the morning to continue the council's deliberation about our summer supplemental budget. That's already on the calendars for the morning of Wednesday, August 7th. But we're calling a special meeting of the council at noon, following that committee of the whole, since everyone already has that on their schedules for the morning. And the purpose will be to tour the Low Income Housing Institute's Tacoma Emergency Micro Shelters project at 602 North Orchard in Tacoma. I want to thank Vice Chair Campbell for his leadership in organizing this and making all the arrangements with the Low Income Housing Institute and suggesting that we do this. This project is in Councilmember Denson's district. I know she's already toured it and also suggested the idea to Vice Chair Campbell. So thank you again to both of you for your leadership and suggestion. It is so important that we put eyes on the kind of model of a tiny home village, a well-managed temporary tiny home village model that is working so well already in Tacoma. You know, there's so much misinformation and fear mongering going on that I'm observing that's really unfortunate. And there's no substitute for touring and being able to see with our own eyes, asking our own questions, seeing the folks who are well-served at a well-managed emergency micro shelter. So that will be a special meeting of the council again, Wednesday, August 7th. Ms. Murray, I'll ask you to make sure that that gets on all members' calendars, and we'll just be doing a field trip and calling a special meeting of the council just in the field. So again, thank you to Vice Chair Campbell, Councilmember Denson for your thinking and organizing on that. The second item that I have under Chair's topics is it is time to begin the process of performance evaluations for our 2 chiefs. We're going to begin with the Chief of Staff. So in preparation for members, this will get on your calendars as well. For members' information, please plan for an executive session on August 13th for the performance review and in-person discussion with our Chief of Staff for her annual performance evaluation. Hard to believe it's already been a year. We will begin with a self-assessment from the chief of staff. The chief of staff will deliver a self-assessment to the full council, of course, reviewing the goals that have set for her. And so she will reflect on the accomplishments of progress on her work plan and those goals. The council will have the benefit of that information. I will then send a survey to the council members and also selected staff to request feedback from selected staff and of course all council members after you have the self-assessment. That information will be collated. Council, of course, will deliberate and come to conclusion on a final group performance evaluation, and we'll be able to deliver that and have appropriate conversation with our chief of staff about that, and also begin setting work plan goals for the next period, for the next year. So again, August 13th is what we're leading up to for the executive session to hopefully culminate this performance evaluation for our chief of staff. Once we complete that one, we will be conducting a similar process for our chief legal counsel, and hope to get that done by early mid-September. And so I'll work with Ms. Long on that. Any questions for me before we move on? Okay, we're going to move to item number 7, other business. Let's begin with communications manager and public information updates. Mr. Dominique.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the council, Brian Dominique, council staff. As Ms. Long mentioned at the top, we have 2 proclamations on today's agenda. We're expecting a big turnout for the ADA proclamation, about 10 people that are planning to come. I know that our chief of staff reached out and invited some former council members and former staff to come and see Denise get recognized by the council and honored. So we're expecting council chambers to be pretty full. And you also have a proclamation for August 6th in your council packet for Farmers Market Week. That's being brought forward by council member or Vice Chair Campbell. So that will go to rules and operations next Monday, or next Tuesday, for approval to be on the August 6th agenda. And pending any questions, that's all I have.
Any questions for Mr. Dominique? Thank you. Do members have any other business before we move into an executive session? I don't see any. Ms. Long or Ms. Murray, any other business for council? Ms. Long, to state the purpose of the executive session, please.
Thank you. So this is an executive session authorized by RCW 4230-110-1I. The purpose is to discuss with legal counsel matters of pending or potential litigation to which the county is or may become a party, and which public knowledge of the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the county. As usual, Mr. Chair, before we go into executive session, if you'd state the time at which you will return to an open session. And it's the time estimate is about a half hour today. There are 2 matters to discuss.
Half an hour. Okay. We're going to, for members' information, all members' information, we're going to be moving into the Tahoma conference room. It's down the way here to have the executive session. So we will be moving in person to the Tahoma conference room. We will come back at 1:05. And then for other staff, for the closed session, currently we anticipate logging into that for the staff that's listening in to help staff the closed session. We will anticipate logging into the closed session around 1:10, but of course that's subject to change with the length of the executive session. That might get extended. So we'll be in recess until 1:05 p.m. for the purpose of executive session.